She's terminal, right? Then hurry it up. I've got better places to be than this sad little court. Those were the first words that hit my ears that morning in Providence Municipal Court, and they came out like ice. I was on the bench in my black robe, looking down at a young man who stood with his hands folded tight, like he was holding himself together by force, and right behind him, leaning back like he owned the building, was the one who said it. He was 46 years old, tall, wide shoulders, a sharp jaw that looked like it never softened for anyone. His hair was slicked back so neat it shined under the courtroom lights. He wore a cream-colored designer suit that looked too clean for a place where people come with real problems. His watch was big and loud, like it wanted to speak for him. His face held a smile, but it wasn't warm. It was the kind of smile that dares you to fight. I felt the whole room tighten, even the air changed. My eyes stayed calm, but inside, something in me sat up straight. I looked right at him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "Sir," I said, "this is my courtroom. You will speak with respect, or you will not speak at all." He shrugged, like my words were a fly landing on his sleeve. The young man's eyes dropped to the floor. His face was pale. His lips were pressed together so hard they almost disappeared. I could tell he was trying not to shake. The silence in the room felt heavy, like a wet blanket. And before I even knew his name, before the case was even called, I had a feeling this was going to be one of those days I would never forget. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, you'll want to see what happens next. The bailiff's voice cut through the tension. "Case 2026 TR 4187, he called. State of Roadwood versus Jonah Reyes. I lifted my eyes to the defendant. "Good morning," I said, steady and professional. "Mr. Reyes, step forward." Jonah Reyes looked like he was in his early 20s, maybe 23. He was slim, but not weak. More like he had been worn down by long nights and hard choices. He wore a faded gray hoodie and clean jeans that didn't quite fit right, like they were donated. His shoes were scuffed at the toes. His hair was dark and messy, like he hadn't had time to think about it. His hands trembled just a little as he gripped the edge of the table. "Yes, Your Honor," he said. His voice was quiet, but it was polite. He sounded like someone who always tries to do the right thing, even when the world doesn't make it easy. I nodded. "Mr. Reyes," I said, "you're here for driving with a suspended license and an unpaid parking citation that turned into a court date. Is that correct?" "Yes, sir," Jonah said. "That's correct." I looked down at the file. It was simple on paper. A traffic stop, a suspended license, a fine he didn't pay on time. But then I glanced at Jonah again, and I saw it. His eyes weren't just tired. They were scared. "Tell me what happened," I said. Jonah swallowed. "My mom, she's sick, Your Honor." A soft murmur moved through the gallery like wind through dry leaves. I leaned forward a little. "How sick?" He took a breath like it hurt. "Terminal cancer. That means they told us it can't be cured." He said it like he had to explain it to himself every day, just to believe it. My chest tightened. "I'm sorry," I said. "How old is your mother?" 51, Jonah answered. "Her name is Maribel." He blinked fast, like tears were trying to climb up, and he was pushing them down. I kept my voice gentle. "What does she do for work?" Jonah let out a short laugh that wasn't funny. "She used to clean offices at night. She'd take the bus. She'd come home smelling like bleach and lemon soap. She'd still make me breakfast. Now, she can't stand for long. She sleeps a lot." I could picture it, a mother working when everyone else sleeps, scrubbing floors so her kid can have a chance. "And why were you driving," I asked, "if your license was suspended?" Jonah looked up, and his voice cracked. "She had chemo. She got sick in the waiting room. They said she needed to go home right away. The bus was late. We didn't have money for an ambulance. I drove." I sat back. I've heard many stories in this courtroom. Some are excuses, some are lies, but some have a certain sound. This one sounded like truth. Before I could say more, I heard a sharp cough from behind Jonah. The 46-year-old man in the designer suit stepped forward like he was stepping onto a stage. "That's enough," he said. We're all sad for him, but rules are rules, and I'm not here for a therapy session. I turned my head slowly. State your name for the record, I said. He held his chin high. Grant Halden. The name came out like a brand label. I nodded. Mr. Halden, what is your role in this matter? He smiled wider. I'm the complainant. That word can sound fancy, but in simple terms it means the person who made the complaint, the one who wants the court to punish someone. Explain, I said. Mr. Halden adjusted his cufflinks. Your court officer can tell you. I'm the one whose parking space he blocked. My building has reserved spots. He parked there like he owns it. I called it in. I looked at Jonah. That's what the unpaid citation was for? Jonah nodded fast. Yes, Your Honor. I parked in the closest spot near the clinic. My mom was throwing up. I didn't even see the sign until later. Mr. Halden waved his hand, and now he wants to use his mother's illness as a free pass. The gallery shifted. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." I raised my hand just a little. Quiet fell again. Mr. Halden, I said calm, you will not speak about another person's mother like she is a free pass. Do you understand me? He leaned forward. Your Honor, I pay taxes. People like him, I cut him off, still calm. Do you understand me? His smile faded for 1 second. Yes, he said, like the word tasted bad. I turned back to Jonah. Mr. Reyes, I said, do you have proof of your mother's condition? Jonah reached into his pocket with shaking fingers. He pulled out a folded paper, creased like it had been opened 100 times. He also held a small plastic card. This is from the hospital, he said. And this is her appointment card. He handed them to the clerk. As the clerk passed them up, Mr. Halden let out a loud sigh, like he was bored. Then he muttered, not as quiet as he thought, anyone can print paper. That was the first disrespect moment, and the room felt it. I looked down at the hospital letter. It had a logo, a doctor's name, and a plan of care. It talked about palliative care, which means comfort care when the illness can't be stopped. It listed medications. It listed dates. It was real. My throat got tight. I set the paper down carefully, like it was fragile. Mr. Reyes, I said, where is your mother right now? Jonah's face fell. At home, she wanted to come, but she can't sit long, and she doesn't want people to see her like this. I nodded slowly. Mr. Halden made a clicking sound with his tongue. So she's not even here. Convenient. The gallery reacted again. Someone gasped. Someone else hissed, shame. I lifted my eyes to him. Mr. Halden, I said, this is your second warning. He held his hands up like he was the victim. I'm just saying facts. Facts without kindness, I replied, can become cruelty. His eyes narrowed, and I knew right then this wasn't just about a suspended license. This was about power. This was about a man who thought money made him untouchable, and a young man who was running out of time with his mother. I could feel the courtroom leaning forward, waiting. Act 2 started fast. I looked at the officer's report. The officer states you were pulled over at 9:42 p.m. for a broken taillight, Mr. Reyes. Yes, Your Honor. And your license was suspended due to an unpaid citation. Yes, Mr. Halden smirked. A pattern. I ignored the smirk and spoke to Jonah. Why didn't you pay the citation? Jonah's shoulders sank. I tried. I work 2 jobs. I stock shelves in the morning at a grocery store. Then I do delivery at night. But the money, it goes to her medicine, the copay, the food, the rent. I kept thinking, next week. Then the letter came about suspension. I nodded, listening. Mr. Halden jumped in. So he admits he chose not to pay. That's disrespect to the law. I turned to him. Mr. Halden, you keep using the word respect. I want to see if you understand it. He blinked. Excuse me? I'm asking, I said, do you understand respect? His mouth twisted. I understand that rules keep society from falling apart. That's a sentence, I said, but it's not an answer. He scoffed. This is ridiculous. Confrontation number 1 was already heating up. I turned to the clerk. Do we have any additional evidence submitted? The clerk nodded. Yes, Your Honor. The parking authority submitted photos and a time-stamped meter record. Evidence number 1. The clerk held up printed photos. Jonah's old car was in a reserved spot. There was a sign. The photo showed it clearly. The timestamp was 7:18 p.m. It showed the car stayed there for 26 minutes. I studied it. Mr. Reyes, I said, were you in that spot for 26 minutes? Jonah swallowed. Yes, sir. My mom, she was in the bathroom. She couldn't stop. I was with her. I couldn't leave her alone. Mr. Halden clapped once, slow, sarcastic, touching. The gallery went stiff. I looked straight at him. That behavior, I said, is not touching. It's childish. His eyes flashed. Childish? I'm not the one breaking laws. I kept my voice even. You're breaking something else. He leaned forward. And what's that, Judge? Your own character, I said. A quiet ooh slipped from somewhere in the back. The bailiff shifted his stance. Mr. Halden's face hardened. I don't need lectures. I sat back. In this courtroom, you will get them if you earn them. He looked like he wanted to argue, but he held it. For about 5 seconds. Then confrontation number 2 arrived. Mr. Halden pulled out his phone like it was a weapon. Your Honor, he said, I'd like to show you something. I raised an eyebrow. Put the phone away unless I ask for it. He ignored that. I have messages, proof this kid knew what he was doing. Jonah's eyes widened. What? Mr. Halden tapped his screen, too confident. I spoke to the building manager, he said. We have a group chat. People saw him. They told him to move. I looked to the prosecutor's table. Do we have those messages on file? The prosecutor shook their head. Not submitted, Your Honor. Mr. Halden smiled like he caught someone. Well, he said, I can submit them now, unless you're afraid of what they show. Now we weren't just dealing with disrespect. We were dealing with an authority challenge. He was trying to push me. I felt that old calm in me, the kind that comes from years of seeing people test a courtroom. Mr. Halden, I said, you don't run this room. I do. He held up the phone anyway. My lawyer will... I cut him off. Do you have a lawyer here? He hesitated. No. Then you will follow my rules, I said. If you want to submit evidence, you do it the right way. You don't wave it around like a trophy. His cheeks reddened. I know people in this city. I nodded slowly. So do I. He leaned closer, voice low but loud enough. Maybe I should call the mayor's office. The gallery murmured. I kept my face steady. You can call whoever you want after court. Right now, you can listen. He grinned like he was still winning. Fine, I'll listen, but you'll regret embarrassing me. That sentence hung in the air like smoke. I turned to the clerk. Let's do this properly. Ask Mr. Halden if he has printed copies or can forward the messages to the court email for review. The clerk nodded. Mr. Halden, still smug, tapped and forwarded something. Minutes later, the clerk printed pages and handed them up. Evidence number 2. They were screenshots of a group text labeled Halden Lofts Security. The messages showed someone wrote, Silver Honda in spot 3 again. Another wrote, Tell him it's reserved. Then a message from a number saved as Grant H. said, Tow it, make an example. And then the nuclear part was not there yet, but something else was. A reply came from another person. He says he's taking his mom to chemo. And Grant wrote back, Not my problem. Sick moms don't pay my mortgage. The words sat on the page like poison. I looked up at Mr. Halden. He shrugged. It's true. Jonah's face went pale as paper. I turned to Jonah. Did someone tell you to move your car? Jonah nodded. A man knocked on the clinic door. He said it was reserved. I told him I'd move as soon as my mom could stand. He rolled his eyes and walked away. Mr. Halden smirked. You see? He knew. I held up the printouts. Mr. Halden, I said, do you understand what you wrote here? He didn't blink. I understand I have rights. And do you understand, I said, that your words show something about your heart? He laughed. Hearts are for kids' movies. The gallery made a low sound, like a growl. I felt the room turning against him. But he wasn't done. Confrontation number 3 came like a slap. Mr. Halden turned his head toward Jonah and spoke loud. Let me guess, he said. You want me to cry too. You want me to hand you money. You want a hug. Jonah's jaw clenched. Stop. Mr. Halden leaned in more. Your mother is dying and you're here playing victim. You're going to use her like a coupon. That was the line cross. He wasn't just disrespecting the court. He was targeting the victim. And Jonah snapped. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just broke. His eyes filled and his voice shook. Don't talk about her, Jonah whispered. She's the only reason I'm still standing. The room went still. I felt my own eyes sting. I cleared my throat, trying to keep control. Mr. Halden, I said, you will stop speaking like that. He laughed again, louder. Or what? You'll give me a speech? You'll make me write, I'm sorry, on a piece of paper? He stepped closer to the center aisle like he was performing. Then the prosecutor spoke up. Your Honor, they said, we received a video from the clinic's security camera. It was submitted this morning. I turned. Play it. Evidence number 3. A monitor was turned toward me. The video showed the clinic entrance. It showed Jonah carrying his mother. She was thin. Her head was covered with a scarf. She looked like she weighed nothing. Jonah held her like she was precious glass. Then it showed Mr. Halden walking up in his designer coat. He pointed at the sign. He talked with big hand moves. Jonah's lips moved, but there was no sound. Still, I could read his face. He was pleading. He was saying, please. Mr. Halden stepped closer, and then he did something that made the whole courtroom inhale at once. He grabbed Jonah's car keys from Jonah's hand. The video showed it clear as day. Jonah reached for the keys. Mr. Halden shoved him. Not a hard shove, but enough. A shove that says, I can. Jonah caught himself and held his mother tighter. Mr. Halden walked to the car, got in, and moved it himself. He parked it across the street in a red zone. That means no parking. Then he tossed the keys back on the sidewalk like Jonah was a dog. The gallery erupted even before the video ended. Hey, someone shouted. That's disgusting. Who does that? I lifted my hand for quiet, but it took a second. I stared at Mr. Halden. His face didn't show shame. It showed pride. I solved the problem, he said. I felt something inside me crack. Then came the viral moment. Mr. Halden looked around the courtroom, enjoying the attention. Then he looked at Jonah again and said the quote that changed everything. Here is what he said, loud, clear, and smiling. Your mom's already checking out. Why don't you stop wasting parking spaces and start shopping for a coffin? 10 seconds. That's how long the room went dead silent. 10 seconds where nobody moved. It was like the whole courthouse stopped breathing. I felt my face change. I felt my eyes burn. I pressed my lips together because if I opened my mouth too fast, my voice would break. Then the gallery exploded. People shouted. Someone cried out, "Oh my God!" The bailiff stepped forward, ready. Jonah's knees bent. He grabbed the table to stay up. His shoulders shook. And me. I wasn't ready for the tears that came. I turned my head slightly, but I couldn't hide it. A tear ran down my cheek. I wiped it fast with my finger, angry at myself for losing control. But I was also angry at him. Angry in a way I don't feel often, because I've seen poverty. I've seen sickness. I've seen kids trying to be adults too soon, but I don't often see cruelty served with a smile. I looked back at Mr. Halden. "Sit down," I said, and my voice was low. He smirked. "Tough day, Judge?" I took a slow breath. Act 3 was the reckoning. I leaned forward. "Grant Halden." He tilted his head. "Yes?" "Grant Halden," I said again, "you came into my courtroom wearing a suit that costs more than some families pay in rent." He shrugged. Grant Halden, I said a third time. You watched a young man carry his mother, and your first thought was a parking space. He rolled his eyes. It's my property. I pointed at the evidence. You took his keys, I said. You shoved him. You moved his car. You left it in a red zone so he would get another ticket. That wasn't problem solving. That was punishment. He laughed once, quick. It taught him a lesson. I nodded slowly. Yes, it did. I paused. I let the room feel it. Now I want to ask you hard questions, I said. Why do you think your money gives you permission to hurt people? He opened his mouth, but I held up my hand. Why do you think rules only matter when they protect you, but not when they protect others? He shifted. And why, I said, did you say this? I picked up the printout and read his own words back to him. Sick moms don't pay my mortgage. The room murmured. I looked straight at him. Those are your words, not mine. He looked away for the first time. Then I read the nuclear quote back, slowly, exactly. Start shopping for a coffin. Jonah flinched like he was struck again. I felt my eyes burn again, and I didn't fight it this time. Mr. Halden, I said, you want respect. You came in here demanding it. But respect is not something you buy. It's something you earn. He scoffed, weaker now. This court is about the law. It is, I said, but the law is not a club for the strong to hit the weak. The law is supposed to be a shield. I leaned in. Look at Jonah, I told him. He is not asking for a free pass. He is asking for a chance to get through a day without his mother suffering. I turned to Jonah for a moment. Jonah, I said softly, how far is the clinic from your home? 2 buses, he said, if they come. I nodded. Then I faced Mr. Halden again. And you, I said, you have a car, a suit, a watch, and time, and still you choose to be mean. I let the words sit. Grant Halden, I said, you may win an argument in a text message. You may win a parking space. But if you keep living like this, you will lose something bigger. He swallowed. You will lose the part of you that makes you human, I said. The room was quiet. Then he tried one last move. Judge, he said, I donate to hospitals. I looked at him. Then you should know better. He looked down. And now, I said, we are going to talk about this case. Act 4 was sentencing, and I did it in stages. First, I turned to Jonah.